Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And I was sitting back at my desk, checking out, the news, getting ready to do this broadcast. I was going to do it on a separate issue, but we're going to combine the two because they all have to do with COVID 1984, right? I had my little playlist going, and earlier in social media, I had seen a post about Nirvana. I said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I could listen to Nirvana right now. So I went over to YouTube and I typed in Sliver. Wanted to listen to a little Sliver. And a playlist came up. And I started listening and not thinking anything of it. And then I noticed that the playlist was gone on the right-hand side. And instead, I was seeing the United Nations COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. Okay. And by the way, folks, they've raised, I believe, $7 million. That's great, isn't it? And then I was thinking to myself, well, maybe this is YouTube. But then I saw Nirvana here, and obviously Kurt's been dead forever. Who knows who's really running the show with Nirvana, whether it's Courtney Love or some of the former members like Novoselic or maybe even David Grohl. I don't know. But they actually had Nirvana giving you a message for this United Nations Foundation organizer, right? And donations collected by the UN. The UN is collecting money via Nirvana during COVID 1984 instead of giving real world solutions outside of vaccines and authoritarianism. And every once in a while, you have somebody step out of bounds and say things like, well, these lockdowns shouldn't be used as a primary mode. And they're only good at one thing, making poor people a whole lot poorer. Media doesn't even want to cover that. They don't want to cover that at all. But we'll cover it here by using authoritative sources. Now, before we get into this story and so much more, I want to recap a little bit, okay? I want to go back in time, and I want to really let people know how I felt about all of this back in March, how I feel about all of this right now, and what I've remained consistent on and what I got wrong. I'm man enough to admit when I get things wrong. And, number one, I'm trolled on the aspect that I was a fearmonger despite everything I was reporting happening in front of us. And the one thing that I would say I did get wrong was the military cutting off New York City and quarantining that area. Let me tell you something. Very glad to get that wrong. Let's look at the other claims I made about New York. I said it would probably have the highest infection rate. It did. I said it would probably have the most deaths. It did. Okay. And I said it would probably have the largest military presence. It did. It does. And now we do have checkpoints there. I also talked about this whole thing being a slow rollout. 9/11 meets 1929. Exactly what we've seen. More surveillance, invisible enemy, fear, 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 fear. Okay. And a collapse of the economy for the middle class, but then the super rich gaining not only money, but consolidating power. Where did I get that wrong? Where was I fear-mongering? Look, I remember the day I cried on air because it was a very emotional time for me. And I really, truly did believe with all the military movement that we were going to see a quarantine there. Again, glad to get that one wrong. Now, what have I focused on from the beginning? Well, I focused on the fact that I do believe this is a real virus. I don't know necessarily that it's one thing. I still don't know that it's one thing. We had Whitney Webb on earlier last week, and she discussed how she felt like some of the things we were seeing may not have been COVID at all, but possible covert actions or poisonings. Okay, and that's a possibility. Yeah, I'm certainly not throwing that one out there. Not thinking that that's not a very real possibility. We've also noticed that the media has never really given any credence to the fact the CCP, Iran said it was a bio weapon by the United States military. Pompeo has held press conferences talking about how it was a biological agent coming out of the Wuhan lab. Okay? So all that stuff's been in the mainstream, and I don't take any of it at face value, but what have I focused on? Solutions outside of lockdowns and vaccines. One of the first things that I talked about was steroids, vitamin C, and vitamin D, because they were using them in China. There were studies on them. And I said, look, they're having success when they treat them early. Showing you the studies, going over them. Largely demonized for it. Okay, I know there are those that still don't believe there's a virus out there. It doesn't pass Koch's postulates. They haven't made the isolates. Listen, I'm open to that discussion in the sense that I'm not trying to censor you. I think otherwise. You know, I had Dr. Bartlett on. I had that hour-long discussion. We asked him that question, and he said outright he thinks that this is a real virus and that it is very different from the previous flu viruses he's seen, and most in relation to SARS-CoV-1, right? So I would encourage people to go check that out. Why am I bringing him up? Because now we have a study where it seems people who had asthma and were on inhalers, okay, on inhalers, are 30% less likely to get the coronavirus, or if they do, have any symptoms whatsoever. And we've been talking about steroid treatment and budesonide in particular, right? And corticosteroids that, you know, people are now using in relation to nebulizers and these CPAP, PAP, and BiPAP machines. I was talking about all this stuff in March. All this, now think if the medical community would talk about this and they would allow it. And instead I get trolls coming in and going, oh, hydroxychloroquine, blah, 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 blah. You know, I discuss HCQ because you should be able to have an open discussion about it with Bartlett. And he said, well, you know, when they were talking about it, they were mostly talking about it as what? A prophylactic. In other words, a preventative. All right. So we're going to go over a bunch of articles. I'm going to give you my take on this Nirvana thing and just how it's so in your face, man. I really do believe Kurt would be like rolling over in his grave. But today is a new day, and that means a new media month for the Info Warrior and the Burmis Brigade. Guys, I couldn't do it without you. We have now been demonetized on here almost 8 months. We tried to review the channel. We did it live and shamed them as we did it, as they deserve. They have no intentions of getting back to me. Instead, they want to take me off this platform. They want to just disappear my channel. Let's be quite honest about it. I had my first video removed the first day I put it out last week. It was about the Great Resistance. And that's what this is. The Great Resistance to the propagated nonsense that has been forced down our throat. That's what we need to talk about. And that's what we need to realize. Okay? Oh, I mean, solutions. And the solutions are the treatments. Not an app, not contact tracing, not lockdowns, not shutting down business, not criminalizing normal behavior, not a new normal. So $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Big donors, couldn't do it without you. Guys, I'm live and free on Rockfin at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Sometimes I post it cut up here on YouTube. Sometimes I don't. That's how we're doing it. If I do get kicked off this platform, let's get it up to 10,000 followers. You know, we're building that platform day by day, brick by brick. And it's a platform that is encouraging free speech, not enslaving people by using censorship. So I would encourage you to go check out Rockfin. Go make that free account today. All my documentary films, they're free. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. Thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Had a really great conversation with Sean Stone today. A lot of people are familiar with Sean Stone. Buzzsaw, you know, watching the Hawks, so much more. Obviously, the son of Oliver Stone. Discussed JFK with him. He was talking about that film. We talked about the entertainment industry quite a bit. And it was a really great and fun conversation for me in particular. So make sure you go check that one out as well. Okay. So this is out today. I actually sent this to Dr. Bartlett's sister, who I keep in touch with. People with asthma are 30% less likely to contract COVID-19 And it may be because their inhalers are helping to control the virus, study claims. Really? So in a 37,000 strong cohort, Israeli experts found a higher proportion of asthma sufferers in the group who tested negative for coronavirus than those who tested positive. Now, if everybody remembers this, and this is going to integrate into another story. I've been saying that COVID-1984 was probably here a year ago, more than a year ago. In November, I thought it was in New York. We had those early reports. We actually played some of those early reports in the January, February range where people were supposedly testing positive in places like Buffalo, etc., and it was being covered up, in my opinion. You had those first hot spots conveniently at New Rochelle right by those choke points. I think that those were manufactured hotspots, not in the sense that they didn't have it, but remember, testing was very limited, and had they tested anywhere where they had one positive case, they would have had an outbreak like that. It was convenient to have them close to New York City. Remember, at one point, the death rate was piling up, so they did take those people and bury them in Hart Island. If you think that that's a joke or that's normal, that is not normal for people that have children or loved ones that take care of them, okay? And to understand that's not normal, go check out what I did in July, and you can watch a woman talk about how she saved her mother after she was dead in one of these nursing homes from going to Hart Island. You know, really educate yourself. So you look at this, right? And it says corticosteroids usually administered by inhalers. Why was I talking about the fact that I think it was here in November? Well, number one, I think I had it. I think my family had it. I've been talking about this from the beginning. I'd never seen my two nieces so sick, one after another. And then my sister got it. My sister could barely breathe. And what was she doing? She was hitting my niece's inhaler all the time. Just a coincidence, though, right? It's just a coincidence she was hitting the inhaler and it was helping. The study, authors suggest, it could be thanks to anti-inflammatory medicine called corticosteroids, usually administered by inhalers. The team stress, however, that asthma patients should continue taking recommended medication during the pandemic. Well, of course. Okay? But, again, go watch my interview with Bartlett. Go check out budesonide and understand that this information has been around from different studies since the beginning. So, again, far be it from me to dare to talk about treatments that would work and that have now studies behind them because the UN isn't talking about them. Okay? And like I said, now we're saying, oh, it's in the U.S. weeks earlier. It's in December of 2019. You know, they thought it was January, but now we're saying December. Huh. Really? I'm saying November. They're talking now December 13th to the 16th in California, Oregon, Washington. Okay? And to the 16th, Rhode Island, Michigan, come on, Massachusetts. Give me a break, guys. Again. And just to kind of reiterate how much, I believe that this is a real thing. You have these long COVID patients, right? You have these people that it seems to affect way, way, way more. We've also talked about men becoming less fertile after having a go of it. We talked about people that have really bad lung issues, cystic fibrosis-like conditions, after initially getting over a bad bout of it. All of it I discussed with Bartlett. So I have never, and that's the thing. A lot of people want to marginalize me and say, you said it was you're saying it's a hoax whenever I post this stuff or I'm anti-lockdown. I've never said that. And I've always said their solution, no matter what it is, will be worse than what the actual virus does to the population. I've remained pretty damn consistent. And I think that's why, the haters are so hateful. They don't like consistency. They want to disrupt things. They want me off the internet. Some of them are just trolls, but you got to think there are people out there that don't want this information to get out. Okay? And utilizing pop culture to kind of promote this agenda, and not only promote the agenda of, the lockdowns, COVID-1984, we're all in this together, but world government, global government, the United Nations Foundation, the WHO, the Great Reset. I'm not down with that. And I just cannot imagine if Kurt Cobain was still around, he would be down with that situation either. I don't want to speak for somebody who's, literally been dead for 2 decades plus. But, when I saw that, it just turned my stomach, and it just shows how skewed things are and how inverted reality really is, just like I talked to Sean Stone at length about. So with that being said, guys, this one's going to be a short one. We are going to wrap it up. Thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Let people know about this information. Let people know about the inhalers, the corticosteroid treatments, right? We earlier today, we talked about Fauci, talking about infections, vitamin C, vitamin D, right? All these different things that are now out there. They're in the public eye. I know they have to be in newspapers. They have to be authoritative sources just to talk about. You have to mention their authoritative sources, but that's what we do here. We try to get the information out any which way we can. So $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Big donors, couldn't do it without you. Please consider donating, and please make the free Rockfin account after this. Go over to Rockfin, make the free account. There you are. Boom. Come join us at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and you can check out, I still have it up there for free. Tomorrow, I'm going to take it down. But the 11:30:20 show is completely exclusive, 30 minutes you won't find anywhere else. If you are a premium subscriber, it is like a Netflix for creators. So you don't just get Jason Burmis. You literally get everybody on the platform. And it's a niche platform. It's not just free-thinking media. If you're into MMA, I don't know why you're not on this. If you're into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, etc., you can't go wrong. If you want to learn how to strike, Duke Rufus has his entire thing up there. That means $10 for the month. You get all Jason Burmis, access to Duke Rufus, Tripoli's on here, Dora is on here, Iverson, House, the Convo Couch. Graham Elwood is live right now. Go check out Graham. I've done Graham's show. Graham's done my show. I got to get Graham back on. I got to get Graham on the Union of the Unwanted as well. And then you see Unlimited Hangout, which is Whitney Webb's show / writings / podcast. Again, it's a Netflix for creators. You cannot go wrong at the Rockfin. And if you haven't checked out the documentary films, you want to see where I'm really coming from. You want to talk about consistency. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture are all here, right now, for free in the playlist section. You simply go right here, over to my page, you scroll down, and then bam! They're right there. They're right there. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's not about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. You own your mistakes, but you don't back up. You don't back down when you're telling the truth. Period. Love you. See you on the flip.